everybody. It's evening time where I am. And I'm supposed to start the stream a little bit late, but better late than never. The stream, first of all, it's not possible without the Most High God. You know, the Most High God always comes first for me. So I always want to acknowledge Him in all my streams. The stream is brought to you by LIVE Products. LIVE, live now, we're live now. We have an array of drinks, we have an array of punches, and we also have an array of cleaning products. If you would like to purchase some of these products, you can do so. Look in the description, you will see the link. I want to get straight into it, so if that's okay with everybody, I'm just going to go straight into this. I'm going to start off with a little bit of Free Palestine news, and then I'm going to go straight into what we're going to talk about. That's cool with everybody. So, this is more geopolitical than it is Free Palestine. Nonetheless, I'm going to cover it. The Prime Minister of Britain, Mr. Starmer, is talking about deploying troops to Ukraine. He thinks that they need to respond with force to Vladimir Putin. Quite frankly, I think we're past that point. And I know Donald Trump, he wants to bring peace to the situation. And he's calling for elections in Ukraine. And he's also willing to even speak about some sort of trade agreement with Russia. So those things are kind of put out on the floor. He hasn't decided one way or the other. What he does know is the United States is no longer going to facilitate Ukraine just like that. They're going to have to see some changes on their end. And that is what they're looking at. So it is what it is. So Mr. Starmer, I think he's on his own with that one. You know, I think they're looking to try and de-escalate the situation, bring about some sort of peace settlement, and move on. So I just wanted to mention that. But with respect to Israel, I already said a lot of things about Israel and Palestine, a lot of stuff. So it's really about something else. But let's just want to cover this little piece here from this brother.
Woman who is 8. So in today's news of why America sucks, we go to a little town called Ada, Oklahoma, where a woman who is 8 months pregnant was just shot by a sniper. Really? Shot by a sniper, a pregnant woman. Not only that, but people went to help her and tried to get to her to help her and the baby, and they also were shot at by this sniper. Unfortunately, nobody could get to her in time, and not only did she die, but the baby died. What? Oh, I'm so sorry. This didn't happen in Ada, Oklahoma. This happened in the West Bank in Palestine. Are you still outraged by this? If you're not, you might want to question why when I started this story, you were completely outraged. You were like, oh my gosh, how could this happen? How could this happen? This happens every day in Palestine, and it happens with American tax dollars, American bullets, and American bombs. Are you still fucking outraged?
Stories televised, retweet, posted, monetized. Did you exchange your freedom, rights, and your choice for a lead role in the cage?
That's Aya May. She sang the song Carmageddon. She know what she's saying, man. It's really cool. Some of the pop culture and stuff like that mixed into the song. It's my joint for the year. You guys should check it out. Just want to appeal to you guys if you can help out Abdullah Omar. He been sick for 2 days. He needs some donations for his family. He helps out his family in Palestine and Gaza. So if you guys could throw a little love his way, that'd be cool. Anybody else who wants me to advertise for them, let me know. I ain't gonna charge you nothing, man. It's just about goodwill. Also, shout out to Dr. Hussein Abu Safia. He is still he's still held hostage with the Israeli IDF. I don't know where he is. We saw a little clip of him. I'm hoping and praying that God will protect him. There has been no hostage trade since on Israel's end. They have held it up. We're hoping that he's okay, Abu Safia. Now I'm gonna say something. Israel's talking about how Hamas being aggravating the situation. No, Israel been aggravating the situation. We need to put pressure on them. We, people of the world, need to put pressure on Israel. We need to put sanctions on them. We need to ban them from arms. We need to not buy their products. We need to disassociate ourselves diplomatically and otherwise from them. This is the only way. You have to put them to shame. Let them realize it's going to affect your economy. It's going to affect everything. And we need to put pressure on the American government and Donald Trump, on his regime. See tremendous pressure on them. We have to start frustrating the process. The shipment of arms mustn't go across there. Then we have to frustrate it. We have to agitate and we have to frustrate. We need to do more, people. Also, the countries which are supporting, banning trade from Israel, South Africa, the Netherlands, Spain. We need to support these countries. We need to keep on showing our love to them, and we need to buy their products. So anything that comes from South Africa, anything that comes from Spain, anything that comes from the Netherlands, anything that comes from France with their government, we need to support them. And when Macron tries to do some foolishness to try and push the French government out of power, y'all need to stand up and protest it. The world needs to protest it. They need to understand we got the numbers, man. We got the numbers. Talking about numbers, we're about to talk about some numbers now. When it comes to Restore the Snyderverse, I told you that's the major thing I'm talking about here today. I'm going to mostly talking about the Snyderverse. I just wanted to sprinkle in a little bit of Free Palestine, a little bit of geopolitics to you guys, but really, we better get in deep and heavy on the Snyderverse, okay? So let's begin. I'm going to start with Going to Pictures, okay? Going to Pictures posted this about 12 hours ago. And that's what he said. And he was responding to Discussing Film. Discussing Film said, the following DC projects have problems in development. Waller still hasn't cracked the scripts yet. Booster Gold, showrunner, almost joined but lost interest. So apparently the people who were investing it lost interest. The Authority, the script had a harder time coming along, according to Hollywood Reporter, Movies. So Going to Pictures said the following. I said it from day one. James Gunn is out of his depth at DC. He thinks the fan base is the same as Marvel's, and it isn't. And it'll be a disaster. I just want to say, first of all, that a lot of times we say this and people think this is opinion, that the fan base of DC, or the audience, forget the fan base, the audience of DC is different to the audience of Marvel. And I actually left a comment underneath here. I said, the DC live action film audience is a completely different demographic to the MCU. He is making films for kids, but most of the DC film audience are adults. You would think after The Dark Knight, Joker, and Batman's success, the Warner Brothers Discovery would get that. And I just put up my hand. Going to the Picture says, this is a problem that DC has failed to understand all the way back to Superman 2 when they got rid of Donner and replaced him with Lester. They did it again to Burton with Schumacher. They'll never learn. And what I'm going to do right now is, everybody feels that's an opinion. When we say these things, it seems like opinion. I'm going to do something, which is very interesting. We live in an age of AI, okay? We live in an age where artificial intelligence can retrieve things for us faster than we can, and then it can kind of organize them together and give a summary and all of these kinds of things. Okay, and we so happen to have on Twitter we have Grok. We have AI on Twitter, which is both Grok, and we also have the Chinese have just introduced DeepSeek. Okay, DeepSeek is another AI program, and then I found an AI bot and even a response. So I'm going to go through all of these different AI programs, and this is what I'm going to tell you. So Restore the Snyderverse. Warner Bros. Discovery has continually tried to capture a younger fan base to get families into the cinema by copying the MCU, which does that. The problem is DC has never been that. Now, I say this statement outside of the facts that are here to support it, and I'm going to show you the facts. But first, I want to just start off by giving you the summaries, okay? All right. The problem is DC's never been that. I asked an AI bot. I asked Grok, which is Grok 3. It's in trial phase right now on Twitter. And I asked DeepSeek AI questions based on DC and MCU history with respect to its audience. And the results are below. So I'm going to give you the results first. And then if you want to go off and do whatever you want to do after that, it's fine by me. But I'll go into a deeper dive than that. I'll give you analytical breakdowns, step by step, pace by pace, piece by piece about this. Okay. And why I'm saying this is because the cool thing about Grok and DeepSeek AI and even the bot is they can quickly, in a matter of microseconds, grasp all the articles that are associated with what I am looking for, my question that I may ask them, and then it will run an evaluation on all of these articles and it will give you a summary. So this is what's so cool about Grok and DeepSeek and AI, okay, AI bots, okay? So let's go into it. All right, let me start off with the AI bot. So here, and I'm going to go into a deeper dive, by the way. This is just the findings first, and I'm going to show you how they break it down. Do older fans, this is from Quora. This is a bot that answered someone who posted this up on Quora, okay? Do older fans usually enjoy DC movies more than Marvel and vice versa for younger ones? This bot, which is, as you can see, it's a bot, 6 months ago, it's called Assistant. It summarized everything, and this is what it had to say based on the information online. The preference between DC and Marvel movies often varies by age group, but it is not a strict rule. Here are some general trends observed. Many older fans tend to have a nostalgic connection to DC comics and characters, especially Batman and Superman, which have been iconic since the mid-20th century. This can lead to a greater appreciation for DC films, particularly those that align with classic portrayals or themes. However, older fans also appreciate Marvel films, especially those that have been critically acclaimed or innovative, like the early Iron Man and the Avengers. Younger audiences often gravitate towards Marvel movies, which have dominated the box office and cultural conversation since the launch of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU, in 2008. The MCU's interconnected storytelling, humor, and diverse character representation resonate well with the younger viewers. Additionally, characters like Spider-Man and the Guardians of the Galaxy have become particularly popular amongst this demographic. Cultural influence. The cultural landscape and marketing strategies also play a significant role. Marvel's extensive marketing, engaging social media presence, and cross-platform storytelling have made it particularly appealing to younger fans. Overall, while there are trends based on age, individual preferences can vary widely based on personal experiences, character attachments, and exposure to different storylines. So this assistant kind of confirms what we already knew. And this assistant has gathered information from all across the internet. And this is the summary of it. Okay. Now I'm going to do breakdowns. So don't worry. I'm going into detail on this in this stream. Okay. So if you don't mind, this helps the algorithm. I want people to kind of see this particular video. I would like a lot of people to see this particular video because it's factually based. And if people in Warner Brothers Pictures see this or Warner Brothers Discovery see this will be good for them. I did also address them when I was doing my thing. Okay, so that's one. That's one summary. I will show you another one. This one has to do with This one has to do with DeepSeek. So this is from DeepSeek. Okay, I asked the question, and DeepSeek responded. What is the tendency with the DC audience compared to the MCU audience with respect to the tone of movies? And this was the conclusion that DeepSeek came up with. Let me move this up here. The DC audience tends to gravitate towards darker, more mature, and character-driven stories, often appealing to older viewers and longtime comic fans. The MCU audience prefers a lighter, more consistent, and family-friendly tone with a focus on interconnected storytelling and broad appeal. While there is some overlap, these tonal differences reflect the distinct identities of the DC and Marvel brands and their respective fan bases. Did you hear that? Now, this is from, and I will show you. There's a lot more information. You know, I watched the thing break down how it sorts out the information and all of that. This is the results of a deep dive into this. Okay, I asked it to do a deep think, and it went and it did a deep think into it, and it listed out all the things and all the information, and sorted out. You've seen all the sites and everything, and then afterwards it gives you a response. Okay, so it's working on it. You know what I'm saying? It's really working on it to give you a really comprehensive answer to the question. Okay, I will go into that in more detail later. I just want to give you the summaries first, so everybody knows. And everybody's on the same page. And I see some people already viewed this on Twitter. Okay, here's the next question. This one had to do with Grok. I used Grok. What's the main differences between DC and MCU audiences in terms of tone of movies? So I kind of rephrased the question, but I asked the same question more or less, kind of. In conclusion, this is what Grok had to say. In summary, the darker tone of DC movies appeals to an older audience seeking complex narratives, while the lighter tone of the MCU movies attracts a younger, family-oriented audience. This is supported by audience reviews, demographic data, and box office insights through both franchises have overlaps and exceptions, reflecting the complexity of audience preferences. So basically, Grok and DeepSeek, they agree on this. Okay. And what's interesting about this, Grok took a lot longer to process this. DeepSeek was processing it in front of your eyes. You were seeing everything just break down. And then you just saw a whole bunch of stuff coming down. DeepSeek is from China. Grok is from Elon Musk and his company. And it's a little slower. And I guess that's why they're upgrading it to Grok 3. This is the most modern version. But it's AI anyway. Okay, so let's keep it going. So I went back to DeepSeek, and I have one more from DeepSeek. Okay. And in DeepSeek, I asked the question, what percentage of the DC audience appreciate darker, more mature DC films? And it was a very significant response, and it was a very significant number. The percentage of the DC audience, and this is the DC audience that comes to films that actually make profit, the percentage of the DC audience that appreciates darker, more mature DC films can vary depending on the specific film and its marketing, but generally a significant portion of the fan base gravitates towards these types of stories. Here's a breakdown based on trends and audience reception. And I'll just go to the conclusion. Approximately 40 to 50% of the DC audience appreciates darker, more mature films, with this preference being stronger among older viewers and longtime fans. However, the broader audience, including families and younger viewers, tend to favor lighter, more accessible superhero content. Now, 40 to 50% of your DC perspective potential audience, that is in the billions. It's a lot of people. Okay, when you think of it globally, okay, that's a significant number, because when they were talking about the families and the younger audience, they take up about 20 to 30% of the DC audience. So the majority of the DC audience appreciates darker, more mature films where you have to reflect and think and all this contemplate. Okay. All right, so these are only 4 of them. I asked more questions, so I'm going to go now into my questions bag. But before that, let me just finish off this thread here, because I want you guys to know about this, and I want you guys to be able to enjoy the content that I'm saying here. Now, just based off of those conclusions from this AI, these are AI, and they gathered all this information all around the internet, and they came up with these answers, which are more or less the same, right? They all agree DC generally appeals to an older audience. So you're talking about, and I'll go into the age ranges and everything. I'm not gonna say what they are. We will do that when we do the dive. But what's interesting is you have this multi-billion-dollar company, people who crunch numbers all the time, right? And they don't know this. You telling me these people don't know this? They don't know the demographics that they have to deal with? I don't get it, but it is what it is. I am giving you now factual numbers. I'm giving you demographics. I'm giving you what it is. Anyway, let's go into my response. I appealed to Abdi and DeLuca, who are Warner Brother Pictures. I did not appeal to James Gunn and Peter Safran of DC. I did not appeal to David Zaslav of Warner Brothers Discovery. I appealed to Abdi and DeLuca because they're, as Zack Snyder said, they seem to have cooler heads, saner minds, and they seem to reason things out. Warner Brother Pictures, it is foolish to appeal to an audience you do not have, abandoning the one you already have. And the point is, you have a demographic, an audience that is, first of all, an older audience. The people who come to see DC are generally older people than the people who go to see Marvel. And when we say older, it doesn't necessarily mean that the top end is older, but that the majority of people who come to see DC, they begin at a certain point, that the lower limit of the age range begins at a certain point. Okay? That's the important thing. They have a higher lower limit. DC movies are mainly meant for older teenagers, into adults, into full-fledged adults, even into older people, much older people. Okay? And I'll give you the demographic ages for DC in time. And most of these people are male. Okay? Most of it's not much different to female and male, but the majority of people who go to see DC are male. Same thing for Marvel, but the point is, that's an important thing to understand. Okay, so we're going to look at the demographics. We're going to break it down using AI. Okay, so I say to them, Warner Brother Pictures, it's foolish to appeal to an audience you do not have, abandoning the one you already have. You want to add to the one you already have. And as you know, the Superman movie that's upcoming is appealing to children and families. And as we had the discussion before, we had that discussion with the gentleman, the pictures guy. I forgot what his name is. That's not a winning combination. You're alienating out all of the adult audience, which the core audience, the audience that brings in the cash that makes you have profit. They're much older people who like more complex, more thought out things. You have what Warner Bros. Needs to understand is you have to consider that audience. Every time you do whatever you do, this is who you are. This is the audience that's coming to see your movies. If you want your movies to succeed, you need that core audience. It's like a choir. A choir is built around a core audience. You may have somebody who comes in and does specials and stuff and enhances everything, but you're counting on your core people who always are very faithful and they'll attend because they come. You have a core, and then it's built around that core, right? And some of the core is leaders in different groups and whatever. It's the same thing. If you're building an organization or establishment, you have to have core members you can count on and depend on. And DC has a core audience. It doesn't matter who the director is. That you can count on once you're giving more mature content that makes people think and reflect a bit. That's just the way DC has been since Superman 1978. It's just what it is. It's not Marvel. Marvel will get the younger people. I know it's different storytelling content, but it is just the way it is. Trying to do something different is only going to cause disaster upon DC. It's what it is. We're not trying to remake the wheel here. We cannot be Marvel. DC cannot be Marvel. Why are you trying to make it Marvel? I don't know. Marvel has a demographic. It is extremely good at satisfying that demographic. It is just what it is. That is not DC. DC, over the many years, has been successful with another demographic. That demographic is almost, I'm not saying it's completely, but it's almost mutually exclusive to the Marvel demographic. Most people who like DC movies, I am not talking about DC animated films. I am not talking about DC television series. I am not talking about DC comics per se. I am talking about the people who come to see DC films. Do not mix the stuff up. Films. I'm not even talking about DC streaming. I'm talking about the people who go to see DC films. Only them. They are usually older people. They're usually people who unpack movies and unpack films and like to analyze things, and they like to see the world. They like to know that this material that I see is reflected of the world, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, it's just what it is. These people, you'll find them liking movies and comic book movies like The Winter Soldier. You'll find them there for The Winter Soldier. The Winter Soldier was a great movie. You'll see them there for Black Panther. You'll see them there for Unbreakable, Split, Glass, X-Men, Days of Future Past. You'll see them for those kind of movies. No doubt about it. Because they're stimulated by content that makes them reflect, think, process the world around them, and process introvertly the world within them. Okay, that's just the way it is. It has nothing to do with Snyder fans. Snyder fans are only a subset of a community of people who don't want to waste them time watching a kick-up or something superficial. They just don't like it. That wasting their time. They've spent their money and they're wasting their time. They want something that's relevant to their life and what they're living. That's the way. That's just the way it is. Why are we trying to remake the wheel? We're not appealing to little kids. We're not appealing to 2, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-olds. Every now and then it works because, like for Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman, which is a world event. But even with that Wonder Woman movie, that movie was extremely insightful to adults. In fact, mostly to women and men, in realizing and actualizing and understanding how much they do not represent themselves, or they don't fully express themselves in the world. Okay, it was a very revelatory movie. Yes, it appealed to little kids on a superficial level to help them with morals and so on and so on. But it wasn't a clean-cut movie. It didn't give a clean-cut answer. It left you, as you will find out, it left you thinking. And that's the important thing, to leave you leave that cinema thinking within yourself. Wait a minute. You're right. I'm not here to save mankind. I can't save mankind. I can't save people. People are going to think what they want to think. They're going to do what they want to do. Right? That was the moral of the story for Wonder Woman. She just learned she just had to play a role and pitch in. In other words, she wasn't a god among men. The bullshit that these critics and all these people say, oh, Wonder Woman's a god. No. Wonder Woman came to the conclusion if she was a god, she'd be able to influence free will and all problems would go away after she had annihilated Ares, right? The problem stayed, right? Because people have choice. And no god can influence that choice. And even if you have abilities and powers, it's not an easy fixed situation. It's dependent on each individual and how they choose. And most you can do in life is be an example of the right way and the right choices, and hope that people see that and are attracted to it and want to do the same. So that's what makes Wonder Woman is a great movie. It's a great movie. You know, I know Zack Snyder wanted to do something else, but it was a great movie. Bar none. It's a great movie. And of course, Wonder Woman got a lot of fans. And of course, the little kiddies always want to go and see, I want to go see Wonder Woman, right? And you know, the little kiddies, you know how they are. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't knock it. But the thing about it is, it did not begin, and the movie that actually made money in the cinemas. We're not talking about streaming. We're talking about cinemas. And if we're talking about streaming, then we have to get more users. I don't really care about how many hours it's streamed and all of that. I want to see, did you get more subscribers, right? Okay, let's keep it moving. Of course, you have advertising too, so that's an important thing. So maybe the streaming hours and the streaming time is important as well. My bad. Okay, but anyway, back to what I'm saying. In recent years, Joker and Batman, both aimed at more mature audiences, made more money than every DC flop aimed at children and families. Why don't you stay in your lane and be good at that? You look at the billion-dollar movies that were made in DC. They're few and far between, but nonetheless. We had The Dark Knight, right? That wasn't a kiddies movie. That wasn't for the little kids. No, it wasn't. Right? DC is actually, in my opinion, the alternative to the MCU. Because what you can't get in the MCU, you're going to get in DC. That's how I see it. It wasn't always that way, but that's how I see it now. And when DC tries to copy the MCU, which is a dumb idea, this is art. You don't try to copy people in art. You try to copy aspects of people in art. That's okay. Covet certain the best gifts and stuff, but you don't try to copy them. And everything these clueless people who I know, they know nothing about art. The people who are running, James Gunn knows about comedy. That's what he knows about. That's all he does is comedy. He has never tried to step out the boundaries of comedy and do drama. He has never tried to step out of the bounds of comedy and do a straight, sincere film. He's never. He's going to try to do that with the Superman movie, and he's not going to succeed. Okay? It's not because it's just what he is. James Gunn is this. This is what he does. This is what he is. And there's nothing wrong with what being that. It's just the problem with it is, and I don't blame him, I blame Warner Brothers. They put people in places where they don't fit. You want a good comedy? James Gunn will deliver that for you. That's what he does. He's a comic. He's a funny guy. That's what he does. But if you're asking James Gunn to deliver for you Superman, of all the characters, you're going to give him Superman to do. What are you doing to the man? That is wicked. It's not righteous. And then you make him fire Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill's up. That is just wrong. The management of Warner Brothers has been doing an atrocious job. I never thought I would be even saying this, of trying to manage the DC brand. It's horrible. You put the wrong guy in charge of DC just because he's been really great at Marvel. He's great at Marvel because the audience at Marvel likes what he does. But you ask most of the audience at DC if they like what he does, most of them are going to tell you probably the first one. Oh, the first Guardians of the Galaxy was good. Everything else crap. They'll tell you that. They'll tell you that because he's a one-trick pony. Oh, man, I hate to say that because it sounds like if I'm hating on James Gunn, but I'm just saying that's what he does, okay? That's what he does. Let the man do what he does, but let him do it as not DC head. Or if he was a DC head who wasn't narcissistic like that and all about himself, and he was willing to delegate responsibility to everybody and let everybody do their own thing, and then they have to find a say, and that's it. But he's not that. He's a narcissist, and he's a comic at the same time. And so this is the worst. This is the worst case scenario for DC. DC's not doing well, and it's not going to do well under him. I hate to say it like that, but this is the evaluation, okay? Stay in your lane, Warner Brothers and DC. Stay in your lane. These are the movies that were successful at the box office. Joker. The Batman. This was not at the box office. I mean, home box office it did well, but I'm not going to talk about this one. This one. Oh, and this one's another. Okay, these two were just these are two films we want to see in the cinema. We want to see Constantine 2, and we want to see Justice League in cinemas, in a circuit, like global showing of these two movies. All right. It doesn't matter my opinion. This is not about my opinion right now. This is just what it is. You go and you check the pulse of the DC audience, and this is what they want. Okay. They also want a sequel to the Batman. Okay. This is a fact that the Batman did well in the cinemas and gave Warner Brothers a profit. And this was the first film of it. And Joker did a massive job. It was a tremendous success. Okay. Tremendous success. These are just facts. While everything else in DC was flopping, these movies were doing well. Okay? Just endorsing the fact that DC is more about, and that's what the AI is telling us. Okay, let's keep it going. You speak of Constantine 2. Do it. Be serious. You're sitting on two movies which will make you money and have not seen global release in cinemas or IMAX. And we're talking about the Snyder Cut and the Ayer Cut. Why haven't you released them? Why are you squandering your money on films that don't fit your audience? You know? And it's not about the brand. DC fans don't, you flash DC in front of us, that don't mean nothing. I hear a lot of these so-called real DC fans talking about, oh, you should support DC no matter what. Once it's got the DC brand on it, you should be, if you're a real DC fan or a real comic book fan, you go to the cinema to see the comic book movie regardless. And I'm like, fuck no, I'm not one of those. And there's lots of people just like me. That's why the films are flopping. DC's not Marvel. Don't try to be like, we're not trying to be like Marvel. We don't particularly like the Marvel movies that come out anyway. We don't go see them in the theater because we don't like them. Okay? So don't try to make us into Marvel fans. We're not Marvel fans. DC fans, as everybody knows, there's a meme out there. They'll talk good about a film. Then they won't show up to see it. We are not the fan base. We are not, forget DC fans. We are not an audience base that is just swooned away by a movie. You have to show us something on the screen for us to, something in the trailers, something that appeal to us and be like, all right, Matt Reeves got my interest with the Batman because of how his trailers were. They were just interesting. They were innovative. Unfortunately, his film wasn't as interesting and innovative as his trailers. But the point is, I wanted to go see the Batman if it wasn't for the fact that Ben Affleck's Batman should have been there. For the interest and in solidarity with, make the Batfleck movie, I didn't go see it. When I finally saw it, though, I was underwhelmed. I was underwhelmed by it because it was just a safe movie. It was a movie about typical Batman. It was nothing. The storytelling was, don't get me wrong, the craftsmanship, the cinematography, very much on point, very, very professional, very thorough, beautiful. The movie looked beautiful. The movie wasn't ugly. It was very appealing. It was something like what you would see in the Snyderverse in terms of quality. But in terms of content, it was a safe movie. It did nothing. It moved the needle nowhere. We really learned nothing about Batman, in my opinion. Very competently made film, but a very, very safe film. And I don't know if Matt Reeves wanted to do something more outlandish, but probably was dialed back by James Gunn, and therefore that's why Matt Reeves is, kind of just staying quiet, watching to see what happens with Superman, and then from there he'd probably make a move. That could be what's happening, because Todd Phillips' Joker. Great movie. I don't know about the sequel. I didn't go see it. I wasn't interested in the sequel because after Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix said that's a one and done thing. They're done. They should have just stuck to their word. Warner Bros. Gave them most of the money and they went and messed up the franchise because that sequel was not well received by a lot of people. And that's purely on Todd Phillips' head. That, you know, you can't say that James Gunn was involved with that or anything, and maybe he was, but that was purely your venture. They gave you all this money and you didn't deliver, and that's on you. That's on the director this time. Okay, but he gave us a great Joker movie, so I ain't mad. You know, and again, I was intrigued. It was the advertisements of Joker that got me going. I need to go see this, right? So, you know, DC is about individualism. DC is about creativity, you know, and you'll see all that. Okay, so this was my response here. So now we're going to go into a deeper dive, if you don't mind me. So going to the pictures, you remember what he said, okay? Now, so the DC fan base is not the same as Marvel, as you already know from the AI I showed you. Now, before I go into even a deeper dive, let me just show you guys something that Ryan Reynolds said. This was back in 17th of March, 2021 at 2:06 p.m. Ryan Reynolds said, excited to see the Snyder Cut, but ahead of his debut with the aid of a good amount of aviation gin, tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll do something I've never done. Actually watch Green Lantern. Happy St. Patrick's Day. So that was a little funny. And Zack Snyder actually responded to him. Those of you who remember Fiona Zhang, who was part of the leaders of the Release the Snyder Cut movement. Zack Snyder, anyway, she retweeted this, so that's how I saw. And Zack Snyder said, hey, Ryan Reynolds, maybe someday I'll bring over some Hand on Stone bourbon and we'll do a double feature. In other words, you go watch Green Lantern and then watch Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is pretty interesting. By the way, I gotta say, Green Lantern, in my opinion, looks way better. I'm talking about Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern. Looks way better than that Green Lantern that's supposed to be Guy Gardner in Gunn's Superman movie. I'm just going to say that, put it out there. I know the movie hasn't come out yet. We don't know it. I'm just telling you, it looks way better. Okay? Also, Wayne T. Carr's Green Lantern looks miles better than that Guy Gardner character. Kilowog, dead Kilowog, looked way better than that Green Lantern. And finally, the old Green Lantern in the Age of Heroes, who was fighting Darkseid, who got stabbed by Darkseid and murdered. I forgot his name. He looks way better, and he's an ugly motherfucker, but he looks way better than the Guy Gardner parody that James Gunn is doing. I just wanted to put that out there. Okay. Also, Vanity Fair this is back in the day, but the Vanity Fair had an article talking about justice for a hero and a villain. Ray Fisher and Joe Manganiello revealed how the Snyder Cut of Justice League sets things right for Cyborg and Deathstroke. So, you know, they butchered Ray Fisher's role and they cut out the future of Deathstroke facing against Batfleck. Okay. I also want to throw out a shout out of thanks to all the stalwarts who allowed for the Snyder Cut to happen. One of them is Lord Kojay, and there's a bunch of others. And so this guy who was called Van Dieter of the Multiverse, he was saying thanks to them. Thank you guys for fighting for us when no one else would. Just as heroic as the leagues themselves, in my opinion. About to watch Zack Snyder Justice League again for the 10th time. Restore the Snyderverse. So since the 31st of March, 2021, everybody had been saying restore the Snyderverse, which was really awesome. Even after, I forget what her name is, Ann Sarnoff had said they don't have any future plans of continuing Zack Snyder's saga with Superman. Trending today was Wonder Woman Wonder Woman was trending today. I thought I would just mention that as well. And let's get into it now. Let's get into it. So let's get into the breakdowns. So first of all, I just wanted to go back to Quora, and this is not an AI robot. This is an actual person named Joey Davis. And this was his opinion about if older people tend to like DC movies more than Marvel, and the younger ones tend to like Marvel more than DC. This is what he had to say. I found there to be franchise bias among younger viewers and younger critics, for that matter, for anything Disney. This was 6 years ago, by the way. That's why it's shocking to see even a hint of negativity in Marvel and Star Wars film reviews. I can say this with some level of certainty. The massive amount of people buying tickets to Marvel films aren't the same consumers buying comics. DC films seem to have more of an overlap in that respect. There are only two ways to placate the franchise-biased, Disney-obsessed public. Have Disney buy DC, which is what I guarantee you Warner Brothers is trying their best to do. Which is why they're talking about a DC Marvel crossover in the animated series. By the way, the interaction that Zack Snyder had with Ryan Reynolds shows that Ryan wanted to be a part in the Snyder Cut, first of all. And then second of all, Ryan is willing to work along with Zack Snyder and the Snyderverse and do a DC Marvel crossover. So keep your fingers crossed on that, because something could really develop when it comes to that. That I can see happening. Now, with respect to DC Marvel crossovers with the DCU and with the MCU, I guess that's possible as well. They have that there now. James Gunn's there. It depends on if Superman can even. I don't know. I don't know what has to happen with Superman for that to happen. But if Superman doesn't get off the ground, they're probably going to continue in television. They won't continue in films, doing stuff for TV, and maybe TV has more success with the DC Marvel crossover there. Maybe that's how they want to go about doing it. But it won't be raking in the kind of money that a DC Marvel crossover as a movie would do. And I can tell you for a fact, you don't have to have all the characters from the Snyderverse to make that happen. If you just have a Ben Affleck Batman in there with Deadpool, that would be fun. Or Cyborg or Flash with Deadpool. Just one DC character might be enough, and might be as much as Ryan Reynolds could afford. Maybe it'd be Gal, or maybe it'd be just one DC character. And I bet you, I can guarantee you Deadpool will make a whole set of money. You know who they should bring from DC to work with Deadpool? A DC character? It would have to be Henry Cavill Superman. Now, Henry Cavill is a lot of money to get him to do it. But here's the thing. We already have a little skit online where Henry Cavill Superman is bashing David Cornsweat Superman, and Deadpool is there, and Batman is there. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you take, it'll make too much money probably for Ryan Reynolds to do a cameo with Ben Affleck's Batman, just a little cameo, like it's like just a couple. But Deadpool already had Henry Cavill in there as the Wolverine, right? So for Henry to come back there and do something, a little cameo in there as Superman, the only thing that they need to have the IP, of course, that would be so fucking cool. Or even for Ryan Reynolds to get Henry to come there as he's not Clark Kent, maybe he's Clark Kent or Clark Clint or something like that. You know, play on words. And maybe he doesn't have an S on his chest. Maybe he has a U or something. But I'm just saying, for him to get Henry back would be so cool. And he already got Henry the first time, so he probably could get Henry again. I'm just telling you, the Snyderverse. And again, Henry was playing Wolverine, which is a serious character, right? He was serious. I'm telling you, there's serious money to be made if you can cross over the Snyderverse characters with Deadpool. And Deadpool so fits into the Snyderverse. I mean, he fits into almost anything, but he so fits into the Snyderverse perfectly because the Snyderverse, they play the characters straight. They don't really have much comics in there. There's a little bit with the Flash, you know, but there's not really a lot of comical characters in there. So, you know what would be nice? If Ryan Reynolds could get, and I think he could, if he could get Ray Fisher to be Cyborg in a Deadpool movie. Oh shit. You know? Just appear in there. But anyway, I digress. So the point I'm making is that there are only two ways to placate the franchise biased DC obsessed public. Have Disney buy DC, make the DC cinematic universe a chuckle fest, and then clone Christopher Reeve, Adam West, and Linda Carter for the lead roles. He's being sarcastic, ladies and gentlemen. Even though Linda Carter was in a Deadpool thing, which was pretty funny. Adam West is dead. But anyway, that should sufficiently satisfy the millennial audience who think everything is funny and feel the desire many have for nostalgia. Tongue partly yet firmly in cheek. So he's just being sarcastic, as I said before. The main problem with the DCEU is that it's the DCEU. The characters have become iconic to the point that they almost seem to be in the public domain, and thus everyone believes their own stock in them, and should have a say in their cinematic direction, which is true. These are epic characters. Now, you have some epic characters in Marvel, but they're not as epic. The only epic character that's really epic is Spider-Man, right? But other than Spider-Man, there aren't really many epic characters. You have Thor, you have the Hulk, and you have Captain America. Iron Man wasn't an epic character. He's made into an epic character, but he wasn't, okay? And all the other side characters like Black Widow, etc. But because the Marvel has been large and in charge since 2008, and then really large and in charge in 2012, people have come to become familiar with the Marvel characters, but they're still not as epic as Superman, Batman, because of the powers and everything, you know? So it's hard for Marvel to make a Superman. They're trying, I think, in The Untouchables or whatever the fuck the movie's called, I can't remember. That's supposed to come out this year. There's supposed to be a Superman-like character in there, but it's never like Superman, because Superman is an ideology and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's for Marvel to really to get to that kind of height, it's hard. Superman has a lot of depth to him, especially after Man of Steel and BVS, and now Zack Snyder's Justice League. Superman has a lot of depth to him. This is why James Gunn I don't know what, he put his foot down in something that he's not going to recover from. It's just, and Superman's the most iconic character in all of DC. So you decided to take on the most iconic character in all of DC, with all that history, with all the people who know the comics and all that stuff. You're in for a shitstorm of criticism, because I'm going to tell you, that's the most, and DC fans are so picky about Superman, it's not funny. So I can just tell you right now, that's the most analyzed, scrutinized character, and that's why he's just getting bashed. All his trailers, everything, just getting bashed. He's trying to do his rendition of Superman, but ain't nobody giving him no time of day. And that's because you've stepped into the big leagues, bruh. You step into a league where people are hypercritical about this character, and everybody got their favorite version of this character. So, and then you go and the iconic guy that represented this character, that could do different versions of him, and the potential of him was great. You fire that guy, and then you put this guy, and then you put a less than exemplary version of Superman for everybody. It's your version of Superman. Nobody's saying no. Nobody's really mad at you for that. What they mad at you for is you fired the guy that could just do any version of Superman. He just literally embodied Superman. And you bring out your version of Superman, which we don't give a fuck about. So that's the problem. And I don't think you can see that deeply into it. Don't forget to smash the like button if you want, people. Don't forget to smash the like button. So anyway, this was a human's perspective and a criticism of it. It was not a compilation of information processing into, these, neural synapses and stuff from an artificial intelligence. No, this was a human's response. Okay. As a result, DC will never get it right in the eyes of most, even if they produce the most stunning movies ever. I don't agree with that. I think most people like Man of Steel. Most people liked BVS as well. I didn't say love, liked. Okay. But over time, BVS has grown on a lot of people. Man of Steel has become a classic. BVS, the Ultimate Edition, has become a classic. And everybody likes Zack Snyder's Justice. That's because everybody got used to what Zack was saying and the messages and the depth and everything. So they were ready for Zack Snyder's Justice. So when Zack Snyder's Justice League came to complete the story, you know, after all these years and after all the fights and quarrels and squirrels, and then people saw what Warner Brothers' vision for Justice League was, and it was shit. And what's amazing is this is what the so-called detractors wanted. The movie that they got in 2017 was exactly what they wanted. That's exactly what they wanted. They got the movie they wanted. And they bashed that too. Okay, so let's get into it. What is the age of the audience? This is the name of this program is, I forgot the name of it. That's crazy. Hold on, I'll get it. Come on. Oh, here we are. DeepSeek, okay? This is DeepSeek. It's Chinese technology. I used it online. I didn't get the app. I just used it online. I logged in and I logged out. DeepSeek's pretty cool, by the way. Okay, that was DeepSeek. So this is DeepSeek I'm using here. And now we're going to go into depth, okay? That's what this video is going to do, a deep dive. And we're out. So I'm surprised somebody's still watching this. Whoever's watching it, salute to you. For the rest of you that are watching this, you should put it on 2x when the stream is over so you can watch the whole thing much faster and get the information. But I already gave you the major points, so you don't need to look at all of this stuff that I've just been talking there. You don't need to. This is just extra stuff. You don't need to cut the video right now. What is the usual tone of the most successful? This is additional information, by the way. This is additional question I asked to DeepSeek. What is the usual tone of the most successful box office DC movies, and what is the tone of the most successful box office MCU movies? That was the question. So now DeepSeek is going to answer the question. The most successful DC and MCU films at the box office often reflect distinct tonal approaches that align with their brand identities and audience expectations. Here's a breakdown. So we're going now in depth on this stuff. DC's most successful box office films. Tone: Aquaman, 2018, 1.15 billion. The tone was high energy, colorful, adventurous, and humorous. There were dark parts of Aquaman, if you remember the trench scene, and if you remember his fight with Orm, and even the great epic world fight with the different kingdoms. And also when Mira's father, when Black Manta tried to destroy a ship from Mira's father's ship. Okay. It combines epic world building, underwater kingdoms with lighthearted banter. Jason Momoa's, they threw in jokes. They changed James Bond's thing and forced in some jokes. Jason Momoa's charismatic performance and family-friendly action. Closest to the MCU style fun, but retains a mythic operatic flair. The Dark Knight trilogy, 2005 to 2012. The Dark Knight 2008, 1.06 billion. Tone: gritty, grounded, morally complex, and psychologically intense. Focuses on realism, ethical dilemmas, example of Joker's chaos, the brooding character studies, Batman's internal conflict. Then we had Joker 2019, 1.075 billion. The tone was dark, disturbing. Okay. Dark, disturbing, and character-driven. A psychological thriller with social commentary, devoid of traditional superhero action, appeals to mature audiences through its exploration of mental illness and societal decay. Wonder Woman 2017, 822 million. The tone was hopeful, inspirational, and earnest. Balances epic action with emotional depth and idealism anchored by Gal Gadot's optimistic portrayal of Diana. And Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice 2016, 873 million. Tone somber, operatic, and divisive. I don't think divisive is a tone. So that's bullshit that he just said, but whatever. Explores philosophical themes, power, godhead. Criticized for his bleakness and convoluted plot. That's bullshit as well, but we'll let it slide. This is AI. This is what it's saying. This is the consensus online, basically. So that's what that is. But it's in there. The top 5 grossing DC films of all time, Batman v Superman is one of them. All right. Okay. MCU's most successful box office: Avengers Endgame, 2.8 million. Tone, epic, emotional, but ultimately uplifting. Balances high stakes, the snap, loss with humor. Thor's comedic act, Guardians banter, and crowd-pleasing payoffs. The final battle. Avengers Infinity War, darker for the MCU, still infused with humor. Villain-centric narrative, Thanos with tragic moments, but requires quippy dialogue and team dynamics. See, quippy dialogue. And Spider-Man No Way Home, 1.92 billion. Tone, nostalgic, fun, and emotionally resonant. Merges multiverse chaos with humor and heartfelt callbacks. Black Panther, 1.35 billion. Culturally rich, dramatic, and aspirational. Balches political themes with vibrant action and celebration of African culture, but it was also a very dark film. Black Panther was a dark film. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, 845 million. Quirky, irreverent, and emotional, combines absurd humor with heartfelt character arcs. Okay? All right. Key differences in tone. DC's top earners. It's varied. It ranges from gritty to fun to disturbing. I will say not necessarily gritty to fun to disturbing. I will say it's mostly gritty and disturbing because most of these films we just spoke about were dark, were reflective, etc. Aquaman's the exception to the rule, and Aquaman only worked because Snyderverse fans wanted to support Jason Momoa. I did not go see Aquaman. I still have never finished that film. I've never watched that film from beginning to end to this day. To me, it's a piece of shit. But because it was supported by Snyderverse fans who wanted to see the Snyder Cut come back, I think that's why it did so exceptionally well. All right, so the humor part is not really, DC's not really humor. I told you that. But this is what the analysis is, so you have to go with it. Emotional core, often introspective, philosophical, or morally ambiguous. Whereas the MCU's emotional core is usually teamwork, hope, and personal growth. Humor, less frequent, often dry or situational. Example, Shazam. For the humor in the MCU, it's central to the formula. Example, Thor's jokes and Guardians banter. So they have a formulaic way of doing things. Audience targeting. The audience targeting is usually a split between mature themes and family fun. They only mention family fun because of Aquaman. Aquaman's the only outlier, really. Broadly family friendly with rare exceptions. Okay, let's keep it moving. Cultural impact, high for darker films. The Joker, The Dark Knight. Relies on interconnected storytelling and character bonds. So the cultural impact, of course, for DC films has been absolutely much longer lasting. I mean, you talk about The Dark Knight, you know, and people will discuss that film. You talk about Joker, people will discuss that film. You talk about Batman v Superman, which is a very discussed film online. But when you think of Marvel and the MCU, you don't really hear people discussing those films, debating those films. The legacy, the durability. Man of Steel is what? 12 years old. You don't hear about it. You don't even hear about Avengers. Okay? Avengers didn't give much. So again, because they're deeper films and so on, they'll carry on much longer. Why do these tones succeed? DC. Its tonal flexibility allows it to cater to niche audiences. Example, Joker's Oscar buzz and blockbuster crowds. It's niche because most of the people are older. That's why they say niche. It's not niche in terms of, oh, it's a small amount of people. No. It just means that there's a certain demographic, okay? Darker films drive on critical acclaim and cultural relevance, while lighter films attract families, right? But as we've seen in DC, the lighter films, there's only one lighter film there, which is Aquaman, okay? Generally speaking, the lighter films don't attract anyone, as we've seen with the many, many flops that we had in DC. And this is a history of that. When they tried to lighten up Superman even more and give more jokes with Richard Lester, Dick Lester, it flopped. Superman 3 flopped, and then Superman 4 flopped. When they tried to lighten up Batman, when they, Batman Forever grossed less than Batman Returns and Batman 1989, and when they tried to lighten up Tim Burton's films with Batman and Robin, They ended up in an 8-year hiatus off of Batman because that flopped. Same thing with Green Lantern. It flopped. Superman Returns, which was a much heavier film, actually was a much more violent film. It was actually more edgy. But again, they tried to make it into a romance, and Superman's a sweet boy, and it had some humor in it, but not much. But still, it flopped. It was until Man of Steel that DC game came back on track, and that was a serious tone film. There was some humor in it from Perry White, but for the most part, it was a serious film, and it made money. It critically was panned, but it made money. So, okay. So, yes. MCU, consistency in tone, humor, and heart builds trust with audiences. Even serious moments are tempered with levity, ensuring accessibility across age groups. The shared universe model rewards long-term fans with interconnected payoffs. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell Warner Brothers Discovery and Warner Brothers Pictures is you already have a demographic, and you already have an audience, and you already have a company that satisfies our audience with smaller children and with light, happy movies. Okay, DC's not that, and because you were able to strike a chord with Aquaman and Shazam, as you see, it wasn't long lasting because Aquaman flopped and Shazam flopped. Never mind, Joker flopped. Joker is a serious movie. Joker, the sequel, flopped, but we should never have gotten a Joker sequel, to be honest with you. Todd Phillips told us it was one and done. Nobody listened to him. But when it comes to DC, you have exception and trends. So Aquaman and Shazam prove lighter tones can work, but they lack the cultural staying power of The Dark Knight or Joker. So it doesn't stay. The movies are not memorable. MCU's rare seriousness, Infinity War, Endgame lean darker, but still emphasizes heroes and hope. Projects like Moon Knight test edginess tones, but remain rare. Okay, I'll tell you some dark. I'm gonna tell you some dark movies that Marvel can use. There's Daredevil. There's The Punisher. You make those into movies, they got to be dark. Okay. In terms of DC and light movies, we're talking like Plastic Man. We're talking like Shazam. You know, those are lighter movies. So there are characters which lend themselves to lighter movies. The problem with it is that you have to establish DC first before you can build those. So if you look at like Endgame and Infinity War, they were darker movies, but they established what the MCU was. So when you went darker than usual, you felt the effectiveness of the darkness and when you DC, you can't start DC trying to start it like Superman 1978. This is basically what James Gunn is trying to do. He's trying to do a Superman 1978 all over again. It's not going to work. That's not DC. And AI is telling us that. Conclusion: DC's most successful is split between gritty, mature films and crowd-pleasing spectacles. Darker films often leave a stronger cultural legacy because the audience really wants that. MCU's most successful films are defined by humor, heart, and interconnected storytelling. The divide reflects broader band identities. DC embraces tonal experimentation. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Stop talking bullshit. DC does not embrace tonal experiments. DC is darker, period. So anyway, that's what it said though. While the MCU prioritizes a cohesive, uplifting formula. You see it as a formula. The MCU works by formula. DC does not work by formula. That is true. Okay. So that was Deep Seek. And here I have Constantine 2, which, fans want to see that. Fans wanted to see Henry Cavill come back. You see, you know what's the problem with DC and Warner Brothers? They don't understand. Kevin Feige understands people, what they want. When the fans say, we want this. You know, the fans wanted Deadpool forever. They finally got him on Fox. It wasn't Kevin Feige, of course. But Kevin Feige understood that and incorporated Deadpool into the MCU. And how did he do it? He let Ryan Reynolds do whatever the fuck he wanted to do. Okay? With respect to, and the fans, because the fans drive that. With respect to the fans in Warner Brothers, I don't know what's wrong with this company. I don't know if they're arrogant or what, but they do not listen They just don't listen to the fans. The fans have been wanting Constantine 2 forever. The fans wanted Henry Cavill's Superman movie. The fans wanted, not just the fans, the general audience, the fans, anybody who watched Zack Snyder's Justice League in epic, monumental, historic numbers, record-breaking numbers, asked the stupid company called Warner Brothers to do the sequels for Zack Snyder's Justice League. You had unprecedented stock levels. The stock was $77 a share. Warner Brothers had gotten record high stock value. And these fucking people said, no, I don't. How can we have people who are running a fucking company who don't listen to the fans? Kevin Feige listens to the fans. What the fuck is wrong with Warner Brothers? I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. They don't listen. And the fans will give you exactly what you need to get. And don't tell me about those fake fans, those supposedly real DC fans. They're not the fans that you need to be talking to. Okay. That's great. But anyway, whatever. I don't know how we got all the way down there, but whatever. What is the age of the audience that watches DC films? I'm going to give you the ages now. From 2005 to the present time. Here's the breakdown. The audience for DC films from 2005 to the present time spans a wide range of ages, but the core demographic typically includes teenagers, 13 to 19. This group is often drawn to the action, superhero themes, and younger characters in DC films. Movies like Teen Titans Go, To the Movies, or Shazam particularly appeal to this age group. So basically, they're not much. Okay, they're not significant. Young adults, 20 to 35. This is a significant portion of the audience, as many grew up with DC Comics animated series or earlier films. They are drawn to darker, more complex narratives like the Dark Knight trilogy or Joker. Adults 35 to 50, older audiences who have followed DC Comics for decades or enjoy mature storytelling, Watchmen, Zack Snyder's Justice League are also key viewers. So as you notice, the demographics here, the main demographics here are going to be 20 to 50 plus. These are the main demographics. Then you have families. Films like Wonder Woman or Aquaman attract family audiences, including children and parents, due to their broader appeal and PG-13 ratings. That's actually bullshit. As we know, we have a lot of flops. We've had a lot of family-oriented films, and they all flopped. So that's not necessarily true. Your major audience, okay, anyway, it'll summarize and you'll see. Overall, DC films tend to target a broad audience, but the primary focus is on teens, young adults, with some films catering to older, more mature viewers. So basically, we're talking about 20 to 50 plus is really your major demographic, okay? I think I covered this already. I covered this already. Okay. Yes, I covered this already, I think. No, actually I didn't. Okay, so let me go into it. I gave the synopsis for this, but I never went into the details. What percentage of the DC audience appreciate darker, more mature DC films? Now, this is a breakdown. This is not just the conclusion. The percentage of the DC audience that appreciates darker, more mature DC films can vary depending on the specific film and its marketing, but generally a significant portion of the fan base gravitates towards these types of stories. Here's a breakdown based on trends and audience reception. The core fan base, comic book readers and longtime fans. A large percentage of DC's core audience, particularly those familiar with comics, tends to appreciate darker, more mature themes. Films like the Dark Knight trilogy and Joker resonate deeply with this group. These films often explore complex moral dilemmas, psychological depth, and gritty realism, which appeal to older fans and critics. So, the core fan base, according to this AI report, they like darker, serious, more mature themed films. Okay. Estimated percentage is around 40 to 50% of the core DC audience, which prefers darker, more mature films. The general audience, while darker films like The Dark Knight and Joker have achieved massive critical and commercial success, not all the general audience prefer this. Some viewers, especially families or younger audiences, may find these films too intense or less accessible. Estimated percentage of the general audience is 30 to 40% of the general audience. So this is much smaller. But they appreciate This is a significant amount, though. It appreciates darker DC films depending on the film's execution and marketing. So you're talking about 30 to 40% of the general audience. That's a tremendous amount of people. Okay. Okay. Younger audiences and families. Younger viewers and families often prefer lighter, more action-oriented or humorous superhero films like Shazam or Aquaman. While they may still watch darker films, they might not appreciate them as much as older audiences do, which makes sense. They'll still tag along, though. Now, the important thing here is that these younger viewers and families, while they do prefer more action-oriented or humorous superhero films, for some reason they didn't show up for the Shazam sequel or the Aquaman sequel or a whole bunch of other movies that flopped. And DC even tries to dial back rated R films as if they're family films. Oh, we need the kids to come in. I don't know what is wrong with these executives and children. I don't know what's the story with them, but they tend to want to dial back and give notes and take away the beauty of what makes films. I don't know why they mess with directors like that. I think Birds of Prey suffered because of that. Okay, let me continue. So yeah, they like but anyway, 20 to 30% of younger audiences prefer darker films, with the majority favoring lighter content. So the majority, 70% of the younger audiences. When we say younger audiences, we're talking about people. The age range is they don't say, but I believe this is like 13 and under. We're talking about. Okay. Key examples. The Dark Knight, widely praised by critics and audiences, appealed to a broad demographic, but particularly resonated with older teens and adults. Joker 2, massive success with over $1 billion at the box office, attracted older audiences, 25 plus, and fans of psychological dramas. Doesn't matter. It's a tremendous amount of people. That's the important thing. Zack Snyder's Justice League, while the visit darker tone and mature themes, again appreciated by a dedicated segment of the fan base, not just a dedicated segment of the fan base, but by older people as usual as well. So I already went through the conclusion. Let's go to the other one. What's the tendency with DC audiences compared to Marvel audiences with respect to the tone of movies? We kind of went into that in some detail, but I'll still go. The DC and MCU audiences often have different expectations and preferences when it comes to the tone of superhero films. Here's a comparison of the tendencies between the two fan bases. I think I covered this already. Films like The Dark Knight and Zack Snyder's Justice League have established a reputation for exploring darker, more complex, and morally ambiguous stories. It's not morally ambiguous, it's just more detailed. A significant portion of the DC audience appreciates the psychological depth, realism, and mature storytelling, often rooted in the source materials, DC Comics, Watchmen, The Killing Joke. Niche and divisive appeal. DC films often cater to a more niche audience. When you say more niche, not necessarily. It's a sizable amount of people. It's mostly adults, particularly older teens and adults who enjoy philosophical or political undertones. Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice can lead to divisive reactions, as not all viewers may like the tone of the movies. Experimentation with genre and tone, they don't really experiment with genre and tone, they just come with individual stories. DC has experimented with a variety of tones from dark, gritty to lighthearted Shazam. However, the darker films tend to leave a stronger cultural impact and do better. Focus on individual characters. DC films always focus on internal struggles, moral dilemmas of individual characters, Batman, Joker, Superman, which lends itself to a more serious tone. MCU audiences, they prefer lighthearted, fun, and family-friendly tone. The MCU is known for its consistent blend of humor, action, adventure, appealing to a broader audience, including families and younger viewers. Films like Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor Ragnarok, Spider-Man Homecoming emphasize comedy and relatability. Shared universe and interconnected stories. The MCU strength lies in its interconnected storytelling, which often prioritizes accessibility and crowd-pleasing movies over darker or more complex themes. This approach has helped the MCU build a massive loyal fan base that enjoys the consistency and familiarity of its tone, broader appeal. The MCU's lighter tone, focused on teamwork and heroism, makes it more universally appealing, attracting. It's not more universally appealing. It's that it is what it is. People come to see that who like that. Attracting a wider demographic. They don't attract a wider demographic. That's not true. Including children, teens, and adults. Children, teens, and adults, but not. Again, what people need to understand, they already said that 40 to 50% of the general audience, 20 to 30% of the general audience will watch DC, okay? So that means in terms of the general audience, I don't know what the numbers are. I would love to see for Marvel, but I believe that, again, the general audience, while Marvel movies have made more money in the cinemas, I believe that there's still a portion of the general audience that is not tapped into by Marvel. They just don't go watch comic book movies at all or anything like that. You remember, adults generally don't watch comic book movies because they think that comic book movies are stupid. Okay? So it's not a big portion of the general audience that goes to watch comic book movies. So that's why DC appeals to the ones who don't go to see Marvel. Let's focus on moral ambiguity. Again, moral ambiguity, not true, not necessarily, but anyway. While the MCU has explored darker themes in films like Captain America Civil War and Avengers Infinity War, it generally avoids the gritty realism and moral ambiguity often seen in Disney DC films. Another thing is, DC films can do a film on a anti-hero or a villain. We've had 3 villain films for DC. We've had Black Adam, we've had Suicide Squad, we've also had Joker. Okay, these are villain films. These characters are villains. Actually, we had 2. We had Suicide Squad and we had The Suicide Squad. They're all villains, right? So this is where DC has trumped Marvel. DC has done 3 villain movies, and Marvel has yet to do a villain movie featuring a villain who sees himself as a hero. So that's interesting. So key differences: the tone of DC is darker, grittier, more mature. MCU is lighter and family friendly, so they say. DC, the themes are moral ambiguity. I wouldn't call it moral ambiguity. I wouldn't call it that. But that's, again, this is AI. Psychological depth, heroism, teamwork, and relatability for the MCU. They say the appeal of DC movies are niche, older teens and adults. I wouldn't call it niche. I would call it a demographic, and that's just what it is. You know, people usually go see DC movies or DC films. They usually don't go see Marvel movies because they just don't like them, because they don't really like comic book movies like that. That's what a lot of people don't realize. Most people have outgrown comics, right? So anything that's hilarious or silly or stupid, they're probably not going to watch it. All right. Most of the people who go watch Marvel, they're younger people. You would have older people going to see it because of the spectacle or ratings or whatever, but most of the time they're not going to go watch Marvel. The appeal for Marvel is broad, including families and kids. Storytelling focus, individual character struggles, shared universe, interconnected stories, cultural impact, divisive but impactful. Consistently popular and accessible, but not necessarily impactful. Conclusion: DC audiences tend to gravitate towards darker, more mature, character-driven stories, often appealing to older viewers and longtime comic book fans. We already did the conclusion. The MCU audience prefers lighter, more consistent, family-friendly tone with a focus on interconnecting storytelling and broad appeal. All right, this is a breakdown from Grok. What's the main differences between DC and MCU audiences in terms of tone of movies? Research suggests that DC movies with their darker, more serious tone tend to attract an older audience, while MCU movies with a lighter, more humorous tone appeal to a younger, more family-friendly, oriented audience. The evidence leans towards DC films being more suitable for teens and adults, while MCU movies often cater to a broader age range, including children. There is some controversy, as both franchises have exceptions, but some DC films like Shazam being lighter and some MCU films like Black Panther having serious themes. Tone and audience preferences. DC movies such as Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and Man of Steel often feature a darker, grittier tone, which seems likely to appeal to audiences who prefer deeper, more complex narratives. This might skew towards older viewers, as parent reviews indicate these films are more suitable for teens and adults due to the intense violence and mature themes. In contrast, MCU movies like Avengers Endgame and Spider-Man No Way Home are known for their lighter, humorous tone, attracting a younger audience. Data shows a significant portion of MCU viewers, such as 46.6%, are under 25 for Avengers Endgame, suggesting family-friendly content broaden appeal at the box office. This makes MCU films more accessible to children and families, as seen in parent reviews, noting suitably for ages 8 and up. So the MCU movies are more you get more kids going to that, much more younger people going to that. Not necessarily the same people, but that's what you get. Unexpected detail, audience overlap and exceptions. An unexpected finding is the overlap in age demographics, with both franchises having strong adult viewership. 54% of 18 to 34-year-olds for MCU Avenger films However, DC's darker tone might limit younger audiences, while MCU's lighter tone occasionally includes serious themes, like in Black Panther, appealing to older viewers as well. The detailed analysis of the audience. Preferences and tone in DC versus MCU movies. This analysis explores the differences between DC and MCU audiences based on the tone of their movies, drawing from various sources including audience reviews, demographic data, box office insights. The focus is on how the tone, darker and more serious for DC, lighter and more humorous for MCU, influences audience age and preferences. Background on tone differences. The tone of DC movies is often described as darker, more serious, as seen in films like Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, Man of Steel, for instance. Batman v Superman noted for its intense violence, mature themes with parental reviews, suggesting it's suitable for ages 12 and up, with some caution for younger children due to its dark content. Similarly, Man of Steel was criticized for its polarizing, gritty tone, appealing to audiences seeking depth. In contrast, MCU movies like Avengers, Endgame, Spider-Man, No Way Out are characterized by low, humorous tone. Did I just cover this? Did I just repeat myself? Yeah, I just repeated myself. What the fuck? That's crazy. Okay, anyway. All right. While a specific age distribution for DC versus MCU is limited, comparisons can be drawn with available statistics. For MCU, Statistica reports that 54% of adults aged 18 to 34 have seen one or more Avenger films, including a strong young adult presence. Social media analysis for Avengers Endgame shows primary audience ages 18 to 25, 25 to 35 groups, further supporting a younger skew. For DC, data is less direct, but Statistica shows 54% of 18 to 29-year-olds are DC comic fans, suggesting a smaller young adult base. However, movie-specific reviews for Batman v Superman indicated a preference for older audiences due to its mature tone, with parents noting that it's not recommended for children under 13. A comparison of specific films reveals trends. Aquaman, PG-13, had mixed parent reviews, with some finding it too violent for young children, suggesting an older audience preference. Spider-Man No Way Home, also PG-13, was considered fun and suitable for younger audience, with reviews noting it's appropriate for kids who are fans, indicating a broader, younger appeal. Now, younger appeal, it may have a broader appeal, but what people are forgetting is that Aquaman, while it had some dark elements in it, appealed to an older audience. That's all. It's not necessarily that you get less. The problem with DC is DC is not very consistent. What I mean by that is, if you understand your identity and you know what your demographic is, if you are consistent in appealing to that demographic, you would get more and more money. It's like when you started off with Iron Man. Iron Man made what? Maybe $500 and something million, but the next Iron Man made $700 and something million, and the next Iron Man made over $1 billion. And the reason is consistently people come to expect what it is your brand builds, and so more and more of them get more confidence, and more of them go to see it. With the Snyderverse, it was building, and as you can see, more and more money was coming in, more and more profits was happening. People got used to the universe, and Justice League would have made over $1 billion, and then the sequels would have made more and more and more, and would have built. But the stupid execs at DC decided to be like Marvel, so they started changing the tone of everything, and instead of stuff building, stuff started to decline, and rapidly, until they were just getting flops. And that's because they tried to be what they were not. The demographic data further supports this. MCU audience includes 73% of parents with children under 18 planning to watch Avengers Endgame, indicating family appeal. For DC, the focus on adult themes such as Suicide Squad targeting mature audiences suggests a different demographic. So it's clear that if you don't understand the demographics that come to see your films, you can't encourage those demographics to come and see your films, because you constantly keep on changing your messaging. Oh, I would like, so you put out Joker, for example, and all the adults are like, woo, this is a great film. I'm going to go see this. It didn't matter what the critics say. The critics wanted to bash Joker. It did not matter. The people who like that stuff are going to go see it. It's just what it is. You have to know your demographics. Now, Warner Brothers is such assholes. They wanted, oh, we want good critical rating as well. No, asshole. Forget about critical rating. Just get the shit into the cinema and satisfy your demographic. Then you can do whatever the hell you want afterwards. You can experiment with this, experiment with that. They're not smart. They're really stupid. So, intelligent, stupid people. So, anyways, Joker does very well. Then what do? What do? You put out some stupid film like Birds of Prey. You put out Shazam. You put out Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman is not like the first Wonder Woman in tone and everything else. It's just a totally different movie. You put out shit as far as adult people are concerned. Why would I waste my time going to watch crap? I don't want to go and waste my time. And I'm not going to carry my children to watch that crap either. I probably carry my children to watch a rated R Joker movie, which would be crazy. Adults need movies for themselves. And you guys are not satisfying the adult demographic. We had X-Men. For so many fucking years, we had X-Men. Right? And the adult audiences loved it. Okay? Now, Warner Brothers is thinking, well, we need to have family movies so more families can come. That's not DC. Stop it. Stop it. You have Avatar is an adult movie. It's not a children's movie. As much as you look at the traffic that Avatar drove, it drove mostly adult. The highest grossing comic book movie of all time is Avatar. Why? Because Avatar appeals to adults. That's how many adults you have out there, jackass. You have a lot of adults out there. But if you make a movie have buzz, meaning you do a great movie, you put out your trailers, and people see it, and it makes them think and makes them see the world differently. They're going to go watch your fucking movie. It's just what it is. And you don't do kiddie stuff. You don't do it. That's like a fucking pornography industry deciding to go into kiddie stuff. It just makes no fucking sense. If you're porn, you're porn. If you're Western, that's what you do. Your strong point is making Westerns. You make fucking Westerns. If you're really great at doing BMWs, making BMWs and making BMW cars, you make fucking BMW cars. You don't try to make a Toyota. You don't try to make a Kia. What part of that do they not understand? Who are these fucking people running this company? I mean, I just don't get it. I don't get it. I really, honestly don't get it. The demographics are there. Avengers Endgame. 46.6% of the people that went to watch it were under 25 years of age. Batman v Superman. We don't have a percentage, but it was recommended by parents that people 12 years and over go watch that film. And that film made money. Spider-Man No Way Home. It's fun for kids and suitable for kiddies. As some people say, fuck the kids. You make a good movie, people will come. And they'll bring their families too. They'll talk to their kids if they have to talk to them about certain points in the movie. That's what they're supposed to do anyway. So, because the movie reflects real life scenarios. So they'll have a nice little sit down discussion with the kids. Oh, you see what happened there in the movie? What did you think about that? And then they give you responses. So you can have a discussion and you can make kids that actually fucking think out here. Instead of copying everything. We're losing creativity. We're losing people who dare to be different, to be unique, to give their perspective on the world. We're losing that to this corporate bullshit. This AI-driven corporate bullshit. AI can be used as a tool. It's not to be used as a decision maker. Spider-Man No Way Home, MCU 2021. Fun for kids, suitable for younger audiences. Aquaman, again, younger audiences. Aquaman, DC, mixed. Some violent for young children. So in other words, Aquaman still, in spite of making all that money, appealed more to adult people than it did to children. That's what it's saying. That's what fucking DC is. So even the most MCU-like film, which was Aquaman, still appealed. It only was successful because mostly adults went to watch that shit. That's what they're saying. This table highlights the trend of MCU films attracting younger audiences and DC films leaning towards older viewers, though exceptions exist. Conclusion. In summary, the darker tone of DC movies appeals to an older audience seeking complex narratives, while the lighter tone MCU movies attract a younger, family-oriented audience. This is supported by Audience Review's demographic data. Box office insights, though both franchises have overlaps and exceptions, reflecting the complexity of audience preferences. It's right there. It's right there. Why are these stupid people in this stupid company so fucking stupid that they're going to push on people more Marvel? I don't get it. The history of the fucking thing tells you you're supposed to be dealing with the demographic that would support your fucking movies. I'm sorry if I'm getting angry, but it is what it is. I can't believe these people are so stupid. And these are all the links. These are all the breakdown, all the links. Okay, we broke this down already. This is the one we broke down. Okay, so all I'm saying to people is this. Okay, that's it. So all I'm saying to people is DeepSeek, Grok 3, version 3, and even the AI bot, and even a human being who did their analysis of the situation on data and so on. Everybody knows DC deals with deeper themes. DC deals with the adult audience. DC tends to deal, is successful dealing with the things that Marvel doesn't deal with, because Marvel deals with the younger audience, with younger people. Marvel addressed, because Disney deals with younger people. Disney's known for doing that. They've done it for decades. They've been doing this. So they're really good at it. Lo and behold, Warner Brothers wakes up one morning with Jeff Johns and says, oh, we're going to try and follow what DC's doing. That's what we're going to do. Disney. You have no fucking experience in it, but you want to try and dabble in it. And to this day, these jackasses are still pursuing that against what's the word I'm looking for? They're going up against one of the greatest fucking giants in that area. Disney is known. This is what Disney fucking did since the beginning, since the mouse. They've been good at doing this and dealing with families and children. That's what they fucking do. You decide, as an ass that you are, that you're going to try and contest that. No, motherfucker, you stay in your fucking lane and you tell the stories how you tell the stories. Trying to be like fucking Disney. You will lose to Disney. Pixar tried to go up against Disney and they lost. And they're by far better fucking reachers of people and demographics of kids than you are. You suck at it, Warner Brothers and DC. You fucking suck at it. And then when you have to deal with these iconic fucking heroes that everybody knows, you have to be so careful and reverent with them because people know these icons. It's not like Iron Man. Nobody really knew Iron Man when he came out. He was a novelty. So it worked. Just like how back in the day, Superman, the way how Superman 1970 came out, he was a novelty. You have to know what the fuck a novelty is. Joker was a novelty. Now, when you got to follow up on Joker, now there's something established. Now you got to build on that. It's kind of like The Accountant. The Accountant was a novelty. It was an interesting discussion on something new. Now, for The Accountant too, they got to build on that. And it's always harder to build on something you've already established. Zack Snyder managed to do that. He managed to do that. And you fired him. You dumb, stupid ass motherfuckers. You're stupid. Talk about a stupid studio. Really stupid studio. And this has nothing to do with being a Snyder fan. This has nothing to do with that. Even if you're a DC fan, even if you're just an objective person, For crying out loud, I'm dealing with AI. AI has no, they have no feelings on this issue. They're just giving you the information. I mean, how fucking stupid could you be? Seriously. So much going for you, and you pick the worst fucking thing you could pick out of all the array of options out in front of you. I remember Luigi. He shot up a guy who was head of a CEO of a World Health Insurance, I think it was. I get why sometimes people act on their emotions. It's because they do not understand how a destructive thing that's killing millions and millions of people, or a destructive thing that's killing millions and millions of people. I know that sounds crazy. Entertainment. Well, some people said that BVS saved their lives. Some people said that Man of Steel saved their lives. Some people said that Zack Snyder's Justice League saved their lives. And remember, we were raising money for suicide prevention. And Zack obviously would continue that in all his movies. And remembrance of his daughter. Why would you stop that? Why would you wake up the next morning and say, we're not continuing this movie? There's no business. It makes idiotic sense business-wise. It makes idiotic sense in terms of helping people. Why are you being so destructive? You greenlight Wonder Woman 3, even though Wonder Woman flopped. You make James Gunn the head of DC, even though his movie, The Suicide Squad, flopped. And I mean flopped. It didn't even make its budget back. What kind of reasoning would pick the things that failed and say, that's the guy? That's the guy for the job? And remember, the things that failed are coming off of things that succeeded. Wonder Woman 84 was coming off of Wonder Woman, which succeeded. The Suicide Squad was coming off of Suicide Squad, which succeeded financially. How is James Gunn a better director than David Ayer, even though his stuff was tampered? People went and saw his movie and saw it again and again. It had legs. James Gunn movie, nobody went to see it. Wonder Woman 84, nobody went to see that. Trash. Everybody went to see Wonder Woman. Yet, you greenlight Wonder Woman 3, which you redacted eventually. Because I was wondering, what is wrong with these people? Thanks to Abdi and DeLuca, they canceled that. They canceled Batgirl too. And then, what I don't understand, I know this has nothing to do with Abdi and DeLuca. They didn't have made this decision. It's James Gunn that made this decision. I'm not James Gunn. I'm David Zaslav. But you're going to put Peter Safran and James Gunn as head of DC because of what? Why? Why are you putting them? Why? We have had nothing but flops since then. And of course, nobody's looking forward to the Superman film. Not the demographic that you're counting on to make money off the film. They're not going to show up. And now you're asking Marvel fans to show up for Superman. You're asking Marvel fans to show up for the Superman movie. Okay. Good luck on that. Good luck on that. Good luck on that. The Lethal Geek says, beware the fans of DC who try to convince you that your allegiance should be to the studio in support of James Gunn just because he's making a Superman film. For they are not fans, but corporate puppets with Gunn's hands up their asses. Bro, I couldn't agree with you more. So that's the situation. I just thought I'd break it down. So I gave you actual numbers. I gave you actual figures. Oh, some people are still watching. Shout out to the people watching. Don't forget you can smash the like button. I know you guys will smash the like button later. But I thought I would talk about this because this is as ridiculous as it gets. DC's been a circus since BVS. DC's been a fucking circus. Okay. Toby Emmerich wanted to cancel Todd Phillips' Joker. Wasn't giving him budget for the Joker. This is the movie that ends up winning multiple Academy Awards and raking in billions for the studio. That same asshole, Toby Emmerich, did not want Zack Snyder's Justice League to see IMAX or cinemas. Clearly, the people running DC and the people running Warner Brothers, with the exception of Abdi and DeLuca, I'm going to absolutely excuse them. They're getting results with what they're doing. But everybody else that's running, I'm not talking about the people who are in Warner Brothers Pictures or people who've been there for forever or whatever. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the people running Warner Brothers. David Zaslav, the whole nine. Casey Bloys. These guys are assholes. They're assholes. And by the way, Jeff Johns and Joss Whedon, they have not left. They're still around. And they're assholes too, as far as I am concerned. I can't speak for Zack Snyder. I can only speak for myself. They're assholes. They're out of touch with what their demographic wants, and they feel they're gods, and they feel they can dictate what the demographic should see and what they shouldn't see. And that's not their job. Kevin Feige is a humble enough guy to understand and make changes to stuff that his demographic is telling him, hey, don't do that. Do this. Okay? And he makes the changes because he's listening. He's in tune with his demographic. Then we had this guy, what's his name? Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who was saying, I listen to the fans. I listen to the fans. Except he wasn't listening to the fans. He was just bullshitting us. He did get Henry Cavill on board. That was a Herculean task. But the one thing you missed out, Dwayne, is, again, all you fuckers got too big egos. You don't work with other people. You're only thinking about yourself. And it's sad. James Gunn's the same shit. He thinks only about himself. He's very, 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 very narcissistic. He's a selfish people. They only care about themselves. Unlike Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder cares about everybody around him, tries not to say anything bad about anybody, tries to think about things positively, and he moves along and he gets what he wants. So Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was so selfish. All he had to do was the black suit. All he had to do was integrate in, and they did it last minute. So this was something after Comic-Con. They had all the time in the world to continue Henry Cavill's Superman from the Snyderverse. And we know that also they were aware of this because we saw them sitting down and they actually used not Justice League, but they used Zack Snyder's Justice League. And I thought, okay, I was committed. I actually started promoting their movie, Black Adam, because I was committed to going in and seeing that because I thought it would be the black suit. They took Henry Cavill's Man of Steel suit from Man of Steel and put it in there, and they played John Williams' score, and I was like, fuck. They fucked it up. They fucked it up. They fucked it up. And Harry didn't deliver his lines poorly or anything. It's just that connection. Why wouldn't you not ride that wave? All because what? Hamada's there? And because Jeff Johns is there, but Hamada didn't want Henry Cavill to come back. You fought for that. All you had to do now was fight for the Snyderverse Henry Cavill to come back. Why didn't you fight for that? Why did you compromise that? You fought that for it because of your fucking ego. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's ego. I could get to build a universe of mine now instead of being part of a universe that's got fire on it. And you still play a principal role in that universe. Ego. Too stupid. Got power hungry and drunk. Couldn't think straight. Believed in the hype. And James Gunn's about to fall just like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. His time's coming now. He gonna fall too. Because you're too fucking selfish. And they circulate lies. DC's fans question the veracity of James Gunn's tweet about Zack Snyder contacting him for support, as he has not yet shown any support for Gunn publicly. It turned out to be false. Landon O'Larry says, aging more like milk. Gods and Monsters, Chapter 1. He's abandoned that a long time ago. Sammy says, Affleck was back as Batman. Cavill was back as Superman. Gadot was back as Wonder Woman. They were going to make Man of Steel 2, so they said. David Ayer was going to get his ear cut out. There was talk of another Justice League movie. We were back. Well, we weren't exactly back, but yes, under Abdi and DeLuca, we were heading generally in that direction. They still needed to, I need to hear something about Ray Fisher, and I needed to hear something about Zack Snyder. And that never came up. So Abdi and DeLuca, I don't know how much, maybe they wanted to restore the Snyderverse, but maybe the heads like Zaslav and all these other assholes were telling them, nah, we shouldn't do that. Don't bring back Zack Snyder. Well, Zack Snyder's back, and he's doing 300. So we'll see if he gets to do another DC property and he gets to continue his story. I think he will eventually. And this is the 4th year. Maybe something happens this year. We don't know. But what I can tell you is Warner Brothers Pictures is not Warner Brothers Discovery is not operating in any kind of logical way. Everything they're doing is haphazard and illogical and stupid. And it's just amazing. This is a company that had great management at a certain time. You know, Greg Silverman was a great talent and a great guy that was running, you know, DC Productions as president of DC Productions, and he was just producing. That was, you know, the age where The Matrix, and from 1999 all the way up till 2016, Greg Silverman did a great job as DC head. And unfortunately, and the guy before him, and unfortunately, after that, DC has just been doing a whole heap of shit. And the management of DC is the problem. There's no other problem. It's just the management of DC. Whoever's in charge right now, they're doing a horrible job when it comes to that. And, you know, it's just very disappointing. You know, and this is the position we're in. DC's a laughing stock to most people. The person who is running DC is a fucking clown. Literally, he's a comedian, so he's a clown. I'm not being derogatory. I'm actually being factual right here. So it's just one of those amazingly unfortunate things that are happening, and we just have to go through that time. But me personally, I laugh. I just laugh at everything that's happening. I know I'm not going to see Superman. That's never going to happen. And it's sad because there's a lot of people who are like me, like that's clearly the demographics show, who literally feel the same way I do. Literally. And they're counting on a very small portion of the demographic to show up to see that film, and they're gonna find out just how small. Because even the people who might have gone to see that film, like guys like Leroy Kong and so on, they're not going to go see it because of how Gunn moved with Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck, and just the dishonorable way how they were discharged from the DC universe, etc. So even the people who they're counting on to go see these movies, who are not, Snyder fans like that, or Snyder cultists, or whatever you want to call them, they're not going to show up to see the movie. This is bigger than big. So this movie, I said, I don't think it's going to make its budget. Nowhere near its budget. Might make half its budget. Gunn might even perform worse than he did with the Suicide Squad, and that was COVID time. This movie's not going to do well at all. So, what are we going to do after that? And it looks like the studio is trying to commit itself to putting on more TV stuff and more animation stuff after Superman flops. Me personally, I think they're stupid. I think they should. People are talking about them selling off the DC brand. I mean, I just think they should change the head of DC into somebody like an Abdi and DeLuca, or somebody who at least understands demographics, understands what the people want, and just give them what they want, because James Gunn doesn't know what the people want. He's got a mandate and he's trying to fulfill it. None of those fucking execs know what the people want. Abdi and DeLuca are probably the closest to knowing what people want. They're clueless, and they have nobody who has an understanding of DC Comics and then an understanding of how the people who go to see film, what they're interested in or what they want. They clearly don't understand it, and they are so fucking arrogant that when fans tell them to restore the Snyderverse, which is what they've been telling them to do for the longest while, they're saying, "Oh no, these are not a big section. They're just Snyder fans or whatever." It takes people in the industry to start telling them you need to restore the Snyderverse. It will take people, prominent people with money to tell them they need to restore the Snyderverse, and they provide money for them to do so. It'll take that kind of clout. And Turkey Al-Sheikh is passionate about comic book movies, so I know he would, and movies in general. So I know he's one of them. But I think that you need more people speaking up about this. People who have more clout and are more mainstream speaking up about this. I know there's comedians who talk about this. I know there are entertainers who talk about this. I know there are directors who talk about this. I know there are actors that talk about this. But we need more people. We need more people drumming up support. The core base of us, we're always active. We're always talking about it. But we need more people to now speak up about this, to pressure the company into doing it, because they need to be pressured into doing this. They're not going to do this any other way. And I don't know if it's some sort of creed they have inside of there, some sort of animosity they have towards us for some reason, because we seem to be able to think with our minds and we're not just swallowing anything they give us. But ultimately, in the end, that needs to happen. Now, Restore the Snyderverse is not only thing. Like I said before, Constantine 2 needs to be finished. Matt Reeves, the Batman, you started with his universe. Let a man finish his universe. Ben Affleck's Batman movie, the Atom movie, which is part of the Snyderverse, but nonetheless. Patty Jenkins coming back to do Wonder Woman. James Wan doing another Aquaman movie. I'm just saying that, maybe somebody good to do a Cyborg movie. All I'm saying is, rights need to be wronged with this stupid studio, or go down in flames and fucking crash, and we'll just laugh. We'll just watch you and laugh at you. And when I say we, I am not just talking about Snyder fans. I am talking about the DC audience is going to laugh at you, and they won't shed a tear. They'll be like, good riddance. And we'll just wait for whoever to take back up DC, and we'll go do our petitions again. We are only interested in our interest. We're not interested in anybody else's interest. We want the Snyderverse restored. That's the people campaigning for Restore the Snyderverse. We want to see better content. DC put out better content. We're never going to stop talking about Restore the Snyderverse. So you forget about that. But I'm talking about also outside of the Snyder fans who want to Restore the Snyderverse. We also want better DC content. and they're not doing that. So there's all of that. So that's what I got for you guys. I am Christ Am Disciple. I'll catch you guys later. This was a 2-hour feature, as it deserved to be. I'll see you guys later. Peace. Bye.